As I get older now, I gotta use glasses a little bit here, but unbelievable week when you really look at a lot of things. We're just about ready to open up this building, and that's something to talk about in itself. I'm gonna go out and say the Michigan State game was something to feel good about for me, and I enjoyed just about every minute of that game, except almost the crazy ending. And I got a real good team that I absolutely appreciate, and I think we got a lot of things to talk about there. But like everything else, and I'm just going to get ahead of the questions. What's going on with college basketball? There's a couple of things that aren't quite as good to talk about, but I do want to tell you that just like everything in life, I think there's maybe a few, and I don't know who's right, wrong, or indifferent, nor do I care anymore. But there's a few that screwed up for the rest, and don't paint the brush. Don't paint the brush over everybody, because it's not the way it is. It's also a day that, as I spend time with my players as we get ready, talk a lot to my team about all the social problems that we're going through and all the things that are going on. And try to get my arms around it a little bit. These issues affect the team. These issues affect our society. They affect all of us. So there are problems in society, and the issues involving race and equality is important to me for a lot of reasons. One, my own household, and two, my team here. And one of the things I love about sports, it's a true brotherhood. It's you think about it, we got guys from Flint and Okemos, we got guys from Alabama and Ohio. We have guys from Dallas and Detroit, and from the Bahamas and Grand Rapids. As a team, we spend a lot of time discussing these issues and allowing everyone the opportunity to explain things from their unique and their own perspective. A lot has been made of the protests. Unfortunately, I think we've kind of lost in the protest what's really been important in this whole thing, and that's to try to make our country better and to try to give us a country that has more equality and instead of the social injustices that I think we have. And make no mistake about it, in my humble opinion, we have some. And it's kind of up to all of us to do something about it, but we need to be looking at real solutions rather than tearing each other apart. I don't have all the answers. My players didn't have all the answers. You don't have all the answers. But I can promise you one thing. If our team does anything, ever, it's going to be our team. It's going to be all of us. It's going to be our coaches. It's going to be our managers. It's going to be everybody, because that's what teams do. I can also promise you that it'll be something that'll be thought out and we'll look at as realistically as we can look at it. But I'm happy to say that I think we have had a good handle on it. Whatever you agree and disagree with, it's helped us with our conversations, and that is one of the main things we've been lacking. I heard something that said, are we about the protest or about the progress? And hopefully we're going to be about the progress. So it's a difficult thing, when you're talking to 17 to 22-year-olds. And I just thought I'd address to you the best thing that I can address to you, and that we're talking and we're trying. And we're trying to make the world a better place. And in some areas, the world needs to become a better place. And yet, it's hard to try to post up players on those questions, if you ask me. So now, with the basketball problems a little bit behind us and the social problems that we're in the midst of, but at least have been addressed, I want to talk to you about how excited I am with this team this year. It's a team of a lot of good players. We enter the season, we understand there are lofty expectations, and there are many goals that we have, some goals that our fans have, some expectations that a lot of people have. But it's been a team that's been driven all summer and fall It started back in April when Miles made his big announcement. And I think it just kind of, I don't know, he's loved by these guys so much. I think it helped flourish an incredible spring, summer, and fall. There's no goals that are any loftier that you're going to put on us than we put on ourselves. Handling expectations or success is always a key. You know, do you handle it the right way? Do you get big-headed? Do you think you've arrived? Do you believe your own press clippings? I saw my man Nick Saban the other day asking the media, telling the media that he asked his players, are you listening to me or are you listening to them? Well, as Judd Heathcote, my boss, always said, you know, you guys got a job to do and I got a job to do. And hopefully we're both going to do it well this year. Last year, we featured a pretty good soccer team, a pretty good hockey team. But as Dick Vitale says, when we walk through the airports, we look like a soccer and a volleyball, or a soccer and a hockey team. This year, you know, we have one of the tallest teams we've ever had. I think we've got more than a few guys, 6'7" or bigger. And last year we were held hostage to average play on the defensive end, sometimes inside, to foul trouble, to injuries. And I don't see that happening this year. Those weaknesses have turned into strengths. You know, what we were lacking last year, the depth, especially inside, I think now could be a strength of this team. With our guards, what we lacked last year was any real experience. I think now we have, even though it's only sophomore, experience. When I watch our sophomore, juniors, and seniors bring along our freshmen, it reminds me of old times, because we have, even though sophomores aren't real experienced, these sophomores are, because they had to play so many minutes. We returned 4 of our top 5 scorers and 8 of our top 10 players. And we really think we have a chance to be a good team. Our roster starts with 2 captains. Tom there, his 3rd year as a team captain. He'll probably go down as one of the greatest program guys of all time. He doesn't let playing time on the court, his role, his leadership, doesn't worry about scoring, doesn't worry about all the things. I've had a lot of good and cool leaders over my time here, but none maybe that has done more for not only our community, our school, our players, our coaching staff. This is a special kid. And Miles Bridges, our other elected captain, deserves all the attention he's received. And so far, he's handled it with humility and humbleness like hasn't been seen around here that often. And I say that not insulting our other guys, but more or less complimenting him. He's handled it with class. And if you talk to him, he'd much rather talk about his teammates, programs, coaches than himself. He's an unselfish guy, and it filters down through the team. He's got some things he's got to get better at, you know. He's going to be moving around different positions. He's got to get better with the ball. He's got to get better guarding, sometimes point guards, if we start switching a lot like we've done in the past. And so there's going to be some things that are going to be more difficult for him. But I can't think of a guy who's worked harder all summer to make sure he's ready, and I think he'll be more than ready for an incredible season. Our seniors, Gavin Schilling and Ben Carter, other than Tom, kind of are similar guys. They both had knee injuries the first day of practice, first week of practice, and they had serious knee injuries. But as Dwayne Stevens said the other day in practice, he's amazed how fast Gavin has come back. Kind of like we had Brandon Dawson a few years ago that blew his knee. By the time we went and played in Germany, was almost everything that he was the year before. Right now, Schilling is moving around pretty well. Considering the time he was out, he's improved a lot. And I promise you this when I say it, I think he'll be one of the best ball screen defenders, not only in Michigan State history, but in the country. So one of our weaknesses last year was we struggled defensively guarding ball screens. And I think he's going to give that a big lift. They give us different looks, the two guys. Ben is kind of a Draymond Green, intelligent guy. He understands the game. He has a great feel for the game. He is not 100% yet. This is his second knee injury. He is playing, though. He is practicing almost full go now. Everything except the livest of live contact. He's doing scrimmaging. He's doing. And he's been such a good teammate to these guys. I think he's been an inspiration, how hard he's worked. And I think Gavin's been, as I said, a great post defender. Ben's got the great IQ. The combination of two, I think we're going to be able to utilize a lot. I do not know how long Ben will be able to play or how much he'll be able to play. That is in the future to be seen. Gavin, I think, will be 100% by the time the season starts. Ben, I think it's going to take a little while longer. Our juniors, McQuaid, Goins, and Aaron's. Kyle has been hurt. He had a little bit of a stress reaction. He's been out for like 4 or 5 weeks, but it's just starting to come back now. He's had an incredible spring and summer. He's one of the toughest kids on my team. And, he's played a bunch of positions, gained weight to play the 4 when we didn't have anybody. Now he's lost some weight. He's back to being what I'd consider a pretty good 3 and a backup to Miles. Can hit open shots, and he got his athleticism back. He's been hurt since he's been here. He was hurt in high school. It's just kind of freak accident though, broken leg, things like that. I'm expecting, if I looked at how he did in the spring, summer, and fall, until he got hurt in the middle of August, him to have a very good year. The other 2 guys, Goins and McQuaid, were the 2 guys that we really needed to step up last year. One had that double sports hernia and missed all summer. One had the knee surgery and missed all summer, and did not have great years. And they too have had great spring, summers, and falls. Kenny is not even wearing a brace anymore. I think he's really benefited from the healthy summer. Last year, Kenny was asked to play the role of backup center, sometimes starting center. And at his weight at the time, which is up about 15 pounds now, and at his size, he didn't fare good against my man from Purdue. It was like David against Goliath. And, I think Kenny has really made some strides. He's shooting the ball better, and he'll be playing a lot better back at the position that he should be. And McQuaid, he gives us the one thing. It's not Bryn Forbes, but he gives us an outside shooter that can really shoot it. And we need that. His ability to knock down open outside shots will be a big key. He, too, is maybe one of our better defensive perimeter players. He's got a good basketball IQ of it. He plays hard, and he's been a good defender as a freshman. He was one of our better defenders that year. Our sophomores, our super sophomores, besides Miles, of course, Langford. If I looked at his last month or so, I think he's really elevated his game even from the summer. He's gotten himself in the best shape of his life, and it's been really funny. I still give John Calipari a lot of credit because, it's interesting when you talk to these guys like Cassius and him especially, and they thought they were doing so much last year and just didn't realize as a freshman what it takes to be great. And John always tells me his guys go through the same thing, but he's got to do that year after year after year. And in my own way, I've learned to respect it because I think it's so hard to do. And this year, as Miles said to me this summer, he said, I just feel more comfortable because I know where my classes are. I know what basketball is going to be like. I know how to handle the other situations. They always say your best improvement is between your freshman and sophomore year. And I think this kid, I've got a bunch of guys that are working their tail off. None work harder than this kid. He's probably in here more and spends more time on his game. Very good student. and it's worked out well. So we expect Josh to take a monster stride on both the defensive and offensive end this year. And there's no question that, for us to be great, Cassius Winston has to be the player that we all know he can become. Without a doubt, his play will be a major key to our season. And his thing started back in May when we got done with the season, got done with school. We let everybody go home for 4 weeks just to get out of here. And he went home for 2 days and came back up here and started lifting and running and getting himself in the best shape of his life, changing his body. He transformed his whole body, and to me that spoke wonders. He was the only player on campus most of that time, and just did it up, not on his own because he had help from our strength coach and everything, but did it with no other players around, which speaks volumes. He needs to be an adequate defender, and I think he's made some progress. I made no bones about it. That was not a strength last year. Never has to be a strength. It just has to be, you have to be able to do it somewhat. I think this year, so far, he's proven to be a much better defender. And one of the reasons, I think, one of the goals I set for my team this summer is everybody's got to play one-on-one against somebody that's better than them, that's quicker than them, that's bigger than them, that's stronger than them. So Miles had to play tum-tum some, and in Cash's case, he had to play tum-tum for the speed. He had to play against Bridges or Langford or McQuaid for the size. So everybody would probably get better in all ways, shape, and form as far as developing different abilities. Nick Ward, the last of the sophomores, last year, when I think of some of the pregame talks, those Newt Rockney speeches that never work, but when you're trying to rev a team up and get them to go and it's the old knock them on its butt and do this and play hard and by the way, Nick, just kind of don't touch anybody, don't look at anybody, don't see anybody. Now he did a hell of a job of that defensively. He accomplished the goal that I set for him, but that's got to change. And he knew it, and I knew it, and I don't blame him totally because what I just said. That's the speech I gave him before we played Miami. If any of you were down there, I told him, no, Nick, they got big athletic guys. We just can't get you in foul trouble. We got no bigs. We lost our two guard. We had nobody left. Don't get in foul trouble. So Nick, as he, the respect he has for me, he listened and he went out there and he set a national record. He got the first foul a second and a half into the game, and on a jump ball, hard to do. But I think those days are behind us. He's even in better shape. He's worked his tail off. This year, we're going to get back to the Nick Ward, who's a tough, strong. As I said, he's moving up and cutting off the pores. Poor Zach Randolph. He's subtracting pores on that. We're getting closer, and one of the ways he can become more like Zebo is if I can let him play without telling him he can't touch anybody. So I think you'll see him more physical, Nick. I know you'll see a better condition, Nick, and I think you'll see a lot better defensive, Nick. And if those things, happen, he's coming off one of the best freshman scoring seasons statistically in MSU history. So he's got that going for him, but we need more if we're going to get to another level. The other area that I really want Nick to improve on is he's a very good offensive rebounder because he wants to score, but not as good a defensive rebounder. This year, we've got to get him better on the defensive board, so that'll be the goals for him. As far as our two freshmen, actually we got 4 of them. We have 2 walk-ons, and Brock Washington and Jack Hoiberg. And I've been very pleased with both of them. Brock can really shoot the ball. He's got some size. Jack does not have the size of his father, but he's got the smarts of a coach's son. And they've been great on our scout team so far. much needed when you think of last year, what we had. A walk-on that's capable of playing at another Division I school is one thing. A walk-on that's not capable of playing many places is another. These guys are capable of playing places. And Xavier Tillman, he's probably been the biggest surprise at camp. I thought he'd be a good player, and I think before he's done, he's going to be a great player. Again, just changing your body makes such a difference. He's lost 20 pounds. He looks so much more athletic, but he is very cerebral, very well coached, in high school, and very tough. So he brings something that, like Nick. Now we get Gavin back. We got 3 hockey defensemen. Guys that are gonna not be afraid to bang some people and get back to the way we play. And I think Xavier's gonna fit in there very well. And Jaron Jackson, there's just a wealth of talent there. Every once in a while I gotta remind myself, he just turned 18 about a week ago. And he's a very, very young player, but very gifted, very skilled, very long. 6'10" and a half, but he's got a 7'4" wingspan. And his length creates some problems already, but he doesn't just have length like some guys. He has great length, but he also has the ability to shoot threes, and so he can combine both. Defensively, like all freshmen, he's got to improve, but one of the things he did this summer is went from 225, now I think he's 224 to 242 right now. That's a decent amount of weight to gain. So we had one lose 20 and one gain 18. And I think that's a tribute to our strength and conditioning guys. So I've kind of gone over all the things. I guess I'll just leave it up to your questions. Hundo.
Tom, you hit the jackpot last year with Miles to have that talent, but with that character. And it was just a rarity to see. This year we were staying with Jaron at Moneyball, and a person told him, we're going to enjoy you for the 1 year we have him. And he looked at him and goes, I have so much to get better. Why would you even think that way? And he wasn't being fake. He was being honest. Did you kind of feel like lightning struck twice with 2 kids of that character back to back?
I think lightning struck twice that they're 2 character kids and incredible families. I mean, I don't know what Jaron will do. He doesn't know what he's going to do. What he's got to do is get better to make us a better team this year. And I think that's what he's setting his sights on. I know from his family standpoint, everybody. You 2 are the only one in my building that aren't one and done right now. Every kid thinks he's one and done. Every kid wants to be. No insult to either one of you, but look in the mirror and you'll understand why. You're just not ready to play at that level. But I think, in Jaron Jackson, he's got a good role model to learn from. Take care of your business, let the rest handle itself. Don't worry about all the other things. Worry about being the best freshman you can be. And if that turns out to be good enough, that he moves on because it's what he should do. The nice thing that I know, his mother's involved with the WNBA, his dad played in the NBA. There will not be a bad decision made, and that makes me feel good. The problem is like all freshmen, he's got a long ways to go. He's got to get better at some things, and yet kind of a treat to coach. Very smart kid. He's a very, very, very smart student, and so put those 2 things together. He works on his game. He's around those guys that play so hard, meaning Tom, and kind of lives with Josh and Miles. So he's got good people to look to try to get better, and I think he will. And I think he'll do something that a lot of kids don't do. Let the process happen. Let the process happen. See where it takes you, but not coming in. And good news is you reiterated it. Not coming in thinking he's already accomplished the world. He realizes he has a lot of things to do, and one of them is to help us, get to be the best team we can be.
Coach, to your left, back by the cameras, I'm hiding. Can you expand upon Xavier Tillman, calling him the biggest surprise at camp, and just kind of?
Well, the reason I say that is we thought he'd be a very good player, but he's just come on faster. I really attribute a lot of it to losing the weight, and he just kind of, he's more athletic than we thought. He runs the court better. He's got great hands, you know, and they're big hands. And so I say surprise. I guess you could take it insulting, like we didn't think he was any good. I mean, we offered him a scholarship. Of course we thought he was good, but he's, a lot of times you get guys and the rankings are always so high and this and that, and they never can live up to them themselves. You know, he's a kid that wasn't ranked off the charts, but is better than the ranking gave him. Those are what I call nice surprises. And, you know, it's just such a good class too, with him, Jaron, and Brock, and Jack. They all get along well. So hopefully keeping the tradition, keeping, you know, the culture alive here. And I think those guys will do a good job of that.
Tom, you talk about, over here, they kicked me off to the cheap seats. You talked about telling your players not focusing on the media, but when you look and you see that your team is ranked preseason 3, 2, and 1, what is the message that you tell them? Do you embrace this, or do you tell them, guys, we still got a long way to go?
Well, I did tell them the stories, you know. I told them the stories when we weren't ranked at the beginning of the season and made it to a Final Four. I told them the stories that we, you know, different rankings. I told them the stories of how we've gone to Final Fours with no pros and we've gone there with 3. I told them the stories that we didn't get there with 3 pros sometimes, you know. So the advantage of either being old or experienced, whatever you want to call me, is I've got a lot of experience at different things. And the one thing I told them is, so all those things I've talked about to my guys, I said, I've been unranked and looked like nobody cared about you. And we've been ranked 1 in the country and had pressure on us. I much more like the pressure, you know, because that's better for the program, it's better for the players. It means that we're legitimate contenders for something. I mean, we got a lot of work to do, you know. We needed to get better defensively last year. We're moving people around in positions. We've got more depth. I'm gonna have to do a better job coaching them. It's, you know, I always kid that they held me hostage last year. If they didn't play bad, I looked down the bench and I had nobody to put in, you know. But on the other side, now we got a lot of depth. I'm gonna have to do a little work. And last year it was harder on me to look down there, but it was easy because I just said, hey, I'm playing who I'm playing. And so I told them that you better embrace it because, you know, not all the time do you get it. And really, if you can't handle it, you shouldn't have come here. I mean, we've proven over the years now enough times that, you know, we're a quality team. We've been ranked in the top 10 a lot more than we haven't in the last 15 years. And, you know, hopefully that's why you came. You know, you came for that. So, you know, the only pressure that you'll put on yourself if you don't prepare to be as good as we think and they think. You know, it's like not preparing for the test. You should go in there nervous as hell. But if you've done your preparation work, you should go in confident, feeling good. That doesn't always mean you'll win, evident by the Middle Tennessee. You know, I got a lot of great things I can bring up to my team, you know, good and bad and indifferent. But they're all facts of life. They're all part of the way the world works. And I'm telling them this year, learning from 2 years ago, that we got to try to have great practices every day. Never going to be satisfied with anything less, because as we learn in one and done time, one bad day. So let's practice, you know, with the mission in mind that we don't want to have a bad day in the Big Ten tournament. We don't want to have a bad day in the NCAA tournament. We don't want to have a bad week. We got 3 big games in a row, because we're going to have a couple of those kind of weeks. Let's work on being as good as we can be every time we take the floor. And I think that's kind of the mission statement of the year.
Coach, right in the back here. You talk about, you know, a lot about the freshman and sophomore jump. With that said, is it safe to say that, you know, with the talent that the freshmen from last year had moving to their sophomore year, is Michigan State going to go as far as the sophomores take them this season?
You know, I mean, I don't even know who I'm starting yet. I have a decent idea, but you just think about it. I could start 4 sophomores and a freshman. I could start 4 sophomores and a senior. I could bring 3 guys that played in the Final Four. I think 2 might have even started. One for sure did, and Tom, and I think Schilling played a lot in that game if he didn't start. Coming off the bench maybe, there's a lot of different ways we can go. So I think our sophomores are going to be important, but I do think of Gavin Schilling, I think of Matt McQuaid, of Kenny Goins. I think those guys, Jaron Jackson, maybe Xavier, those guys are going to be important. We're going to play more guys. I mean, we're not going to play 12 guys, but we're not going to play 6 like we went through last year either.
Excuse me, you talked about Langford a little bit earlier, but how much different, you say he's improved, how much of it is he's healthy now? How much of it is maybe a mindset because he's healthy now? Because I feel like we saw a little glimpse of it late last year, just a little bit.
You did see a little glimpse late, and that was, if you want poor coaching, I'll give myself a D in something right off the bat. He was hurt. He missed that whole last month of the preseason. And then we got him healthy a week before we went to Arizona. We played him there and tried to play him a lot. And I thought I'd play him into it. I acted like an NFL quarterback coach, like you can play a guy into it, he's going to get better. But you know what happens when you play a guy into it and he's not ready to do that? Sometimes he loses confidence. Sometimes he never gets healthy. So I don't think he did a bad job. I think I did a poor job. And maybe how I handled that. He's such a good kid. You kind of go by what they say. There's no question he was injured for over half the year last year. Not anything serious, not anything he should have been held out, but it was a hamstring, and that's a tough injury for an athlete. But I think he is more confident this year. I think he got better with the ball. I think he's a much better defender. When you ask those guys to have to be good defensive players last year, and then with the lack of depth we had, they had to play a lot of minutes. It's just a bad combination of things. So I do think what you saw at the end, or you saw tidbits of, I think you're going to see that on a more consistent level. And like I said, that kid has worked his tail off all spring, summer, and fall.
Tom, you talked about the different things that you did with the guys going against smaller guys against bigger guys against smaller guys. From that standpoint, I guess, what development and growth did you see from those guys? And also from a practice standpoint, how much is it going to help those bigger guys to go against the bigger guys this year?
Well, I think that's going to help a lot. I think what you got in the first part of the question was, again, Miles got to guard Tom. I mean, Tom is a hard guy to guard if you're trying to guard him to not let him go around you. If you want to sag off him, he's easier to guard, but we played it so that he had to push up on him and guard him. And not many people can guard him. He's quickest guy as I've ever coached. So that helped him. I think with our bigs, last year Austin Thornton played center some. Matt Van Dyke, when he wasn't starting, played